Tonight on Beyond the Words, we're going to be talking about
navigating the kid years.
So let's get to it. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our show. This is Beyond the Words. My name is Lon.
I'm Lisa.
And this is a show where we talk about faith, family, and relationships and discuss some practical things that you can do to strengthen those relationships. And if you're hearing some weirdness in my voice, I got a Halls in my mouth because I've got some allergy stuff going on and coughing and hacking. And so, I apologize for that. But yeah. Like Lisa mentioned a little earlier, today we're going to be talking about navigating the kid years.
And this is Rufus. You forgot to introduce him again.
How rude of me. This is Rufus.
The most important part of the show.
Yes, absolutely. He's just chilling. That's good. Because in about 20 minutes from now, he'll be wrestling. And so make sure you stay tuned in for at least 20 minutes because at about 20 minutes, Rufus is going to be wrestling around with Lisa and I.
It's going to be the best part of the show.
It's awesome. It's an awesome part of the show. Right.
Dog wrestling.
Dog wrestling. We are so glad that you are here, and we would love to hear from you. So if you can do that by sending us an email. You can email us. We'd love to hear from you at lonandlisa@gobeyondthewords.com. That's Lon and Lisa at gobeyondthewords.com. Drop us an email. Let us know if you've got some questions or if you've got like an idea for a topic that you would like for us to talk about. Faith, family, and relationships is what we talk about. So if you've got questions or things that you want us to discuss, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Also, you can comment in the comment section below, and in the live chat bar. If you're viewing on YouTube, you can just put in a comment in the live chat bar, and or the live chat feed. That's what it is. It's a live chat feed.
Like this.
You type like that. That's what you do. Yeah, send us a comment, drop us a note. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see it here, and then towards the end of the show, we'll have some time that we'll have some Q&A time, some time for questions, live questions, and we'll be able to put those on the screen, and we'll be able to see your comments because we want you to be a part of the show, not just a viewer, but an active participant. That's what we're hoping that the show will be. Two-way discussion. Well, sort of. Two-way. As good as two-way discussion over a video
but
can
since
be.
There are two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, would it be like a three-way discussion?
Yeah, but I don't like the idea of three ways. That was highly inappropriate. I apologize. Anyway. You don't even know what to say about that. Okay. See, my face is all getting red now.
Good. I hope your mother is watching.
I didn't say anything bad. I said... Anyway. We see Lucas is here with us. Thanks for watching, Lucas. Just bleep that first part out. Just disregard that.
And the show is starting now. Action.
We got a little camera thing right there. We should do that. We should use that. So before we get into our main discussion, we like to share a little segment called The Adventures of Lon and Lisa. Now, this is just a pre-recorded thing. We like to go on trips and do little fun things. Sometimes it's an actual like big vacation type thing. And sometimes it's just little small things like going out to Walmart. And I'm just like, this pause is like all in my mouth. It's just crazy. Anyway, so we're gonna show just a little clip of The Adventures of Lon and Lisa, and then we'll be back to discuss our main topic,
And he's
navigating.
gonna spit that out.
And I'm going to get rid of this Halls. So we'll see it in just a moment. Look at where you're getting it at. Oh, yeah. Should I go forward or backwards? Oh God. And it shook so bad when it was going down the first hill. I was thinking of Johnson. And that was our little trip to Cedar Point 8 years ago, almost with our boys. Yes, so there was a
4 years ago.
4 years ago. Did I say 8 years?
Math is hard.
Math is hard. Yeah. No, it's 18. It's 2018. So it's almost 4 years ago. Anyway, there was a reason why we kind of picked that little clip to show you, and that is one. It kind of featured our boys, our two boys, Ryan and Caleb. And if you noticed when we were going up the ramp, and you saw them in the back cart behind us, you know, like Ryan, he's the tall, skinny one. He's like all happy and talking about stuff and everything, and Caleb's back there just like,
Which is them now.
which is him now. Yeah. So it's just two completely different people, you know, but they're each special in their own way. The second reason why we chose that clip was because when your marriage takes on another person, mainly a child, not a dog, although a dog does have its implications as well, but you begin to have kids, life from that moment on is like a roller coaster.
Hold on.
Hold on for dear life, because it is going to, number one, it's going to be a lot of twists and turns and loop-de-loops, and sometimes you're going to feel like you're just about ready to be thrown out, and other times you're just coasting along and it's really cool, and
And somebody's probably going to barf.
Somebody will definitely barf. Yeah, so you've got all of those things to look forward to. Isn't that special? So anyway, that was our little trip to Cedar Point, and yeah.
But it's all worth it in the end.
It is worth it in the end.
And it's going to cost a lot of money, like Cedar Point.
Yes, it will cost a lot of money, like Cedar Point. Last week was Mother's Day. Last Sunday was Mother's Day. And that we talked about that a little bit, and now we're going to kind of get into the meat of our discussion concerning how your marriage changes when you begin to have kids, and kind of what to expect. And that's why we named it Navigating the Kid Years. Now, the kid years is all the way from being, the infant stage all the way up to teenagers, and sometimes even beyond those teenage years, as we are very accustomed to. So things change when you begin to have kids. You go from a couple with no other real responsibilities in terms of caring for any other individuals. Unless you're in a special kind of situation. But if you're newlyweds, you spend time getting to know each other as newlyweds,
Right.
And then once you begin to think about having kids, the marriage changes, and it changes dramatically, and your lifestyle has to change too, very, very dramatically. Your lifestyle changes again, like I said. You don't really have any other responsibilities in terms of caring for little ones or anything like that. You're free to go out with your friends and, eat extravagant meals, eat out every night if you want to.
Where were you living?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like if you've got, well, of course it depends on
You were driving a Porsche and...
if you're driving a Porsche, you might have to get a minivan, things like that. But even if you don't have access to those things, even those without a lot of income, the
Right.
situation drastically changes. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
Did you have to sell your Porsche?
I had to sell my Porsche. Yeah. No, just kidding. I never had a Porsche. I probably will never have a Porsche. I don't really want a Porsche.
Okay.
But a Lamborghini, that's what I'm talking about. A Lamborghini or a Ferrari, that would be cool. Yeah, I'd use one of those. So let's talk about the way the marriage changes in the very beginning. So we broke this up into basically three stages. Now, each one of these stages we're really just going to touch on briefly, because you could actually we could talk about like for hours and hours on each one of these things. But we kind of broke it up into three main stages, and the first stage is called the baby stage, which Lisa likes to refer to as
the survival mode.
Survival mode. Yes.
Just trying to keep everybody alive.
Keep everybody alive. Keep everybody, safe. Try to sneak in as much nap time as you possibly can.
Right.
Things like that. What would you say in this initial baby stage? What would you say are some of the primary things that change?
I think it's, when you first find out you're pregnant, you have that euphoria you know, oh, I'm going to have this little angel, and, you know, everybody tells you babies sleep 20 hours a day, and, you know, oh, it's going to be perfect, and everything is perfect, and I'm going to dress it up in these little clothes, and all this stuff, and instead you have this little monster thing that's, you know, vomiting and pooping all the time. You're like, wait, this isn't what I signed up for, and you realize you're never sleeping, you're never eating, you're never alone, and you're like, how do I do this? Wait a minute, this isn't what I expected.
Right.
And
excuse me.
so there's no amount of preparation that you can ever have, you know, and it's just shocking. And so, yeah, you go straight into survival mode and you've just had major surgery, you know, and you know, your body just, you know, you're trying to recover, and now you have this other human to keep alive. And so you're trying to get better, and then you're trying to keep this human alive, and, you know, it's just like, what do I do now? And if you don't have help, that's really difficult. So,
yeah, right.
You know, if you can have someone there to help you, accept any help you can get. That is my number one suggestion.
Right, because there's no manual.
Right.
I mean, there are
a lot of manuals, but, you know, anything you read, you have to kind of, you know.
You have to figure out what
right.
works for your situation, because there's tons of materials out there.
Right.
There's tons of books out there. You can read all kinds of books, and you can get a lot of people's help, advice, if you will. But there's only one you,
right.
and there's only one marriage that you're involved with, and then of course there's only one kid like yours.
Right, and all babies are so different. Like mine
right.
were night and day, and, you know, what worked for Madison never worked for Ryan.
Right.
You know, even brands of pacifiers, you know, what she used, he hated, and it was just, yeah. So you start from scratch with the second kid. So
Now my situation was a little different, because both Kelsey and Caleb, in their young years, their baby stage and their toddler elementary school kind of stage, they were very similar.
Oh, really?
They were very similar in a lot of respects. I mean, they were different in some as well, but for the most part, they were very, very similar up until the teenage years. You know, that 12, 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Those were the years that they really began to carve their own space, and so you began to realize, well, Kelsey's acting this way. I need to do something different for her than I would for Caleb. So yeah, but I can definitely identify with there being sleepless nights when they were babies, because both of them would not sleep through the night for anything. And unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, I don't know, maybe it is fortunate, I don't know, but they ended up sleeping in the bed with my ex and I, and that was it was something that we didn't see eye to eye on. And so those types of things, when you start to have kids, those are the types of things you have to kind of work through. I mean, right. My ex was very adamant. Nope, we're not going to leave her in the crib to cry. We're going to put him in the bed with us, because, you know, that's the way she dealt with that. I didn't agree with that, and of course, you know, you can always tell when you begin to really understand what your child is like. As a baby, you begin to understand what kind of cries they have, whether it's a hey, I'm hurting kind of cry, or whether it's a hey, I'm just wanting
bored.
Attention, or I'm bored, or whatever it is, you know. You know, and so Kelsey and Caleb both had that separation anxiety type of thing, and I was on the side of let them be by themselves. Let them.
You go in and you say you're okay.
Right. You go in and you acknowledge that you're there.
Right.
But then you leave them and you
Right.
let them cry it out,
Right.
because that's the only way anybody's gonna even
be able to self-soothe.
Right.
Yeah.
They learn to self-soothe, and you, after a while, hopefully you get a little sleep, a little bit more sleep than you would if you didn't do that. So that's one big thing. It's a huge thing.
So our first thing is
Yes, the first practical thing, and really this goes along with marriage in general, is you work together as a team. But especially in those beginning years where you have a baby to care for, you have to work together as a team. Guys, listen, it's not mom's responsibility the whole time. You got to step up and be a father. That means getting up with them in the middle of the night when they have a poopy diaper, or if you're using formula, feeding time. You can do that, or if you do the breast milk where you.
I don't know what that hand motion was.
That was bad. That's not. Stop.
Put that hand down.
This is not a rated R show. I promise you. Where you pump during the daytime,
Yes.
and then you store that,
Yes.
and then you can the father can have time alone. And the incredible thing about that, guys, is that kids bond with their moms, especially mothers that breastfeed, because of that connection that they have, that physical connection and the warmth of them being there and everything. That creates an incredible bond with them. Now, of course, you don't have that functionality, but if you step up and are able to actually hold your child, hold your baby, feed them, that can be a bonding time for you and your child. So I highly encourage that. But yeah, it's working together. It's figuring out what works, because it will happen. There's no question about it. You have a child, they're going to have needs, and their needs are at that point more important than your needs. You are an adult. You should be able to kind of help yourself and do things yourself, whereas a baby doesn't have that capability. You add, because I've been talking too much.
No, you're
way
doing
too
great.
much.
Just quit doing the hand motions. And
Okay,
you're
I'm not
great.
doing any more hand motions. So work together as a team. So in that survival state, that survival mode, what am I trying to say here? Things change with regards to the marital relationship, because there's so much time being spent on caring for the child, right? So what are some things, what are some things that people can do to help keep their marriage, alive and not succumb to the pains of just being in survival mode? How can they survive survival mode?
To thrive in survival mode?
Thrive.
Well,
that's a good word. I'm
see,
glad
that's
you
why
thought
you
of
keep me
that. That's
around.
right. Yes, I know that.
I think it's okay to just survive in survival mode for a short period of time. You have to make sure that the mother is healthy and is taking care of herself. Give her time away from the baby. Make sure she has time with her friends, and make sure that the baby is put in a separate room. Make sure there's a bedtime. Make sure
So structure.
that, yes,
Structure is
absolutely,
big.
early on. Make sure there's a bath time, a bedtime. Once you have all of that laid out early on, if the baby isn't sleeping through the night, that's okay, because babies aren't going to sleep through the night. But once they have that structure of, bath time and bedtime, you'll be able to have just maybe an hour or two alone and start asking questions. You can't necessarily say, what did you do today? Because she's going to be like, well, I fed your kid. I changed your kid's diapers. It's going to be the same thing every day. But, ask her, did you talk to anybody? Did you have a chance? Ask about feelings or anything like that. Just, any kind of adult connection that she can have with you is going to really, just reconnect, because that's what she's going to need at that point.
Right.
Just adult connection, because when you have a baby that's been on you all the time, you need another adult, and she needs you. She needs connection with you.
Right.
So, if you're co-sleeping, that's one thing, but you need to connect with your spouse.
Yeah.
And, that's, you need, and you still need structure. You still need, a set bath time, a set bedtime for the baby, and you still need connection with your spouse apart from the baby. Because if you don't have that, then your marriage is going to suffer.
Right. I think about it in terms of like doing a budget with your finances. You can sit down together, and you can just kind of budget. And I would highly encourage doing this, at least to some degree, before the baby is born, because then you have at least a framework. Now, you don't have the specifics because every child is different, but at least you have some framework of kind of what you're going into, like, okay, we know there's going to be this survival mode. We know that you're primarily, if the mother's going to breastfeed, then you have to make time for all of that, and so it's much, in most cases, like doing a budget in the financial realm. It's the same thing. You sit down and you budget. Okay, so these are some of the things that are going to change. I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, and I'm going to, and you just work through those things, right?
And if you walk in the door and the dishes aren't done, don't sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Do the dishes.
Jump in and do the dishes. I can't, as a dad, I can't stress enough for fathers to be a father, to be, and if there's ever a time for a husband to step up to the plate and be a husband, it's especially during that survival mode when you begin to have kids. I mean, that's just all there is to it, because your wife goes through so much, taking care of the kids and all of those things, and like you said, you need adult conversation. And the other thing that I would add to that, especially for the husbands, is patience. A lot of patience. You have to be able to have patience in terms of, and I head towards the idea of the sex thing, because I know sex is a big deal for most guys, most husbands, and
because
once
it's a connection.
Well, it is.
It's your connection with the wife.
Absolutely, it's your connection with your wife. Much more than, it's not just a physical connection, but a spiritual and emotional connection as well. But
if you want to get your wife there, then you need to do the dishes, and you need to do everything else, because what she's thinking in her head when you're coming home, she's thinking the dishes aren't done, this isn't done, this isn't done, this isn't done, and that's going to be the last thing on her list.
Right. Because
she's got a list. So if you want to get there, then you're going to need to get her list done. Just
get the list.
Get
the list and get it done. And I think too, it's important to not plan. I know that this doesn't sound romantic at all, but plan on a night. where you guys are gonna connect, and do whatever you can to kind of make that happen. Plan it, because it's not cool. Of course, everybody's different, but it's not cool if you just come home and you go do the list, and then all of a sudden you expect in your mind, okay, well we're gonna be intimate tonight, and
guess what's last on the list?
And that's the last thing. She might have been up all night the night before.
Right.
You have to really pay attention to the context of where your wife is, during all of that, because it really is important. This is, again, one of those times where you love your wife in a different way. As a husband, it's not just the touchy-feely and the lovemaking, but it's doing the dishes. It's taking care of, when you've changed 30 diapers all throughout the day and you get home, well, now it's your turn. You take the dirty diapers because she needs some time to rest and time to not do that.
Right.
So yeah, that's a big thing. One of the other things that I think can help families is just, and this is our next talking point here, is just to get connected with other families. As we said before, when you begin to have kids, your marriage, your life, your lifestyles change, in that you don't, maybe before the kids come along, maybe you're spending time with other couples, and you're going out
in your Porsche
club, or in your Corvettes club, or whatever it is that your golf club or whatever, and you have this lifestyle that doesn't include kids, and now all of a sudden that shifts, because now you have kids, and you have to plan for that. You have to, maybe instead of doing so many bike rides on the motorcycle, maybe you do, instead of 2 a week, maybe you just do 1 a week, or 1 every other week, or something like that.
Now you're riding on the bicycle.
I'm just trying to cover all the different spectrums, right?
And also, you want to know, am I crazy? And people are like, well, I'm doing the same thing. But you need to be careful, because then you get into well, my kid is doing this. My kid is doing this. And so
True.
Everybody's going to compare their kids to your kids, and just, watch out for the parents that are doing that.
Yeah, like we said before, there's all kinds of material out there that's actually good to read and things, but there is only one child that is like your child. So it's important to take those gold nuggets that are great, that apply to your particular situation, and use that.
But my kids were always super advanced, and they were the best.
They were the best? Yeah? Okay.
They were always the smartest and the fastest and the best.
Yes.
And they could jump the highest.
And they could jump
and run the fastest.
Okay. Mine couldn't do any of that. I'm going to go now. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to our talking point. Getting connected with other families, though, is a great idea, because you begin to build that friendship where maybe you're... What are you looking at me weird for?
It's just my face.
Okay, inside joke. Anyway, as I was saying, it's great to get connected with other families. It doesn't have to necessarily be at church, but other families that have kids, because you get to interact with another couple that is learning it right along with you. I mean, they're learning how to do life with their kids, and you're learning how to do life with your kids. So get together with friends that have families as well. That actually can lead to a place where, depending on the friendship, if there's enough trust there, You could even do a night where one family would keep the kids while the couple goes out on a date, and vice versa. And then you go, okay, well, this week we went out on a date, so next week let us keep your kids, and then you guys can go out on a date. And so you just kind of look out for each other that way and create space for the marriage to thrive.
Instead of just survive.
There
you go. Okay.
It's not quite you've been Bibled. It's something. It's something else. I know she has these weird sayings that are really, really cool, but we haven't had the opportunity to say them here on this show yet. But one of them is, "You've been Bibled."
I get them all the time.
Yeah. Anyway, so get connected with other families, even your own family, if you trust your. If you trust them, I'm just saying there are families. I've known a few families that you don't trust your parents or your other.
Not us.
We trust ours, but but there are other people in different situations where you don't trust them. Obviously, you want to keep your kids, leave your kids with someone you trust.
We know a few crazies. We'll list them right here. Just wait.
Yeah, just wait till the comments section.
If you see your name, we don't trust you.
We're not calling anybody out, babe. We're not calling anybody out. So that kind of briefly just touches on the baby stage, or like you said,
the survival
stage. Right. So the next stage that we get to is I call the toddler elementary school stage. That's that period where they're beginning to walk and they're learning a little bit how to talk, and then of course all the way through elementary school, those years where you really have the opportunity to have some great parenting moments.
Right.
What would you say about that?
This is where Ryan learned the N word. No. That's what he called it.
The N word.
He's like, please don't say the N word to me. Ryan, I have to say no. He's like, no. He hated that word when I said it. He would always say it, but I wasn't allowed to say the N word.
We were just looking at the. Okay.
So yeah. Yes, the N word. He hated that.
Hate the N word.
Yes, don't say no to Ryan.
So, did your kids have the whole terrible twos thing?
Well, like we talked about last week, Ryan had the ear infections, and so he really had a lot of trouble verbalizing things. And he really had speech problems. He had problems saying his name. So he would say his name was Wine. People would say, Wine? Your name is Wine? So things like that. So there were a lot of communication problems, and it was very frustrating for him. He went through a lot of stages where he wouldn't eat certain foods, and we found out later it was because of chewing, and it would hurt him to chew.
His ears, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot more frustrating for him. And, as a parent, I didn't sleep with him, but I felt worse as a mother because I wasn't sleeping, but he wasn't sleeping and he was in pain. So I was like, well, I'm just not sleeping. He's the one that I felt horrible for. So.
And then there's Benadryl.
But it actually makes the mucus thicker, so we couldn't use it. Yeah, unfortunately, Benadryl was not good. So yeah, there was a lot of medication, a lot of doctor's visits with him, and so he was a whole different story. And then Madison wasn't quite terrible. There were just a few little Madison issues, but yeah, she wasn't really terrible too. But he was like terrible.
He was just terrible.
He's just terrible. He still is, but I love him. No, he had a terrible, probably 3 years. But then he was much, much better. Once we got everything fixed and everything, he was, you could tell right away once they did the tubes, tonsils and adenoids came out, and it was basically night and day.
Right.
So.
And my 2 kids, again, we really didn't have any issues with them for the most part during their early years. We had a few issues with them after we divorced. That I wouldn't place that in the same realm, because divorce does something completely different. It's not necessarily a natural thing. So you've got other things to deal with. But as far as the terrible twos, as they call it, Kelsey and Caleb were both really, really good. For the most part, they were very compliant. We could go to any grocery store or whatever. They wouldn't pitch a fit. They just knew we weren't going to buy them everything that they said they wanted on the rack, and so they were pretty good. Excuse me. So going through this the toddler stage, there is the toddler stage is the perfect time to begin teaching life skills.
Absolutely.
You don't, like we said this last week, you don't wait until the kids are 16, 17, 18 years old. If you've waited that long, your chances of really influencing them have diminished so greatly that, especially there, because in their teenage years, which we'll talk about in just a minute, their teenage years, they are trying to forge their own path. They're trying to find out their own identity, and so those teenage years are the years where they begin to kind of pull away from you, and become their own person. So you definitely don't want to wait until they're teenagers to begin teaching them the skills that they need to succeed in life, and that is, knowing things like knowing boundaries.
Right.
And this is a great time to teach them, boundaries where you two are concerned. You and your spouse, when you guys say, we're going to have time together,
Right.
and this is our time, and you send the kid up to their room to go to sleep, they need to know
Right.
it's time to sleep. And you're not, they're not going to get away with, like constantly asking for a drink of water or getting up or whatever. You give them some commands, and you give them some boundaries to respect. And so by keeping to those boundaries and implementing appropriate discipline, they begin to understand, and they start to learn how to respect your boundaries, our boundaries, and they begin to respect us as individuals.
Are you talking about Ryan?
I'm talking about Ryan. I'm talking about you, Ryan.
He's only 25. He still has time.
Yes, okay.
No, but another thing is teaching them life skills like loading the dishwasher at 2.
Yeah.
A 2-year-old, you open the dishwasher, you say, put your sippy cup in there. They can't necessarily put it in the right spot, but you have them put it in there, and then you say, good job. If you are doing everything for your child, you are not teaching them anything. You say, oh, I love him, I want to do everything for him. That's not teaching them life skills.
Right.
So, you're not enabling them.
Well, you're not teaching them
Right.
the skill. You're
Right.
doing it for them. So,
Right. So, and parents are like, but I can do it so much faster if I just do it myself.
Mhm.
But you can't. And so, yeah, early
So-
on, that's what I would do. I would open the dishwasher. They would put their nasty stuff in there, and the silverware would go in flat, and I'd be like, "You did a good job." And then, I'd go and fix it for them. But they would early on. They would have to do it themselves. I wouldn't do it for them.
So you would say that normal things that someone might do, like putting the dishes in the dishwasher or basic things like that, when you begin to have kids, and especially during that toddler stage where you begin teaching them,
Right.
that you have to plan on those activities taking much
Right.
longer.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right.
So, yeah.
And cleaning up their plates or the table after they've eaten.
Right.
They had to clean up their own little places, and so they would get the rag and they would clean it up themselves, and it would take 20 minutes. It would take just as long to clean up as it would to eat, but they would do it themselves.
Right.
And so they take pride in it.
So the key element there is that you again, going back to patience, I said that earlier. It's really, really important to have patience.
Right.
When you have kids, show them how to do it.
Right.
Do it with them,
Right.
but give them the opportunity to try to do it themselves. And they're not going to be able to do it perfectly the way
Right.
that you or I would
Right.
would do it, but you're teaching them to, number one, that they have a responsibility to be a part of the family,
Right.
to contribute, and that you're teaching them that there's an expectation that they're going to contribute to the family, and you're teaching them a great skill. And it may take them a little bit longer to do things, but eventually
Right.
they themselves will begin to think of ways to do things faster and better, and that's how we learn, right?
And clean up their own toys.
Clean up their own toys, yeah. I don't know if you know the song, Clean Up, Clean Up.
Oh, the Barney song?
Was that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what we would do
That's
with Kelsey.
what- yep.
Clean up, clean up. Yeah.
Yeah, my kids would sing it, clean up, everybody clean up now, clean up, or mommy's gonna have a cow. That's what they thought the song was, and they would sing it over and over again. Yes.
And that's okay, but they cleaned up,
They
right?
cleaned up while they sang it. I don't know why they thought those were the words.
Because it's funny. It's funny. Right.
But yep, that was their song. That
So-
was the cleanup song.
Right. So,
I thought your kids didn't like Barney.
well, they didn't. That was just we just picked a song to try and to help them make cleanup time fun. So when they would get all their toys out and before bed or whatever, we'd sing the cleanup song and okay, let's clean up and we're gonna clean. And of course, we were in there helping to clean up too, but we'd try to leave the majority of it for them to clean up so that they could know that it was their job to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? What else in those toddler, elementary
What's
age?
our next one?
Well, we go from that to straight to the teen years.
But we
don't.
had another.
Oh, well-
we just start teaching life skills.
Yeah, just start
Oh.
teaching life skills. Yeah, teaching life skills.
But this is also when you start building friendships for your kids.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, have toddler play dates. If your friends have kids their age, bring them over. Encourage friendships at this age. It's a great time to do that.
Well, and also, now that I think about it, not just teaching them life skills like how to do things like wash dishes or whatever, but also relationally, teaching them, because even though they're toddlers or elementary school age kids, they obviously they won't understand the abstract concept of respecting other people's boundaries or how to communicate. Those things are real abstract, so it won't be until later on until they begin to understand those things. But if you demonstrate those things for them and begin to walk them through doing those things,
Right.
then they begin to learn early on. I find it, I'm very sad when I look around and I see so many kids that, we put so much of an emphasis on the academics, going to school and learning reading and writing and arithmetic. The three, arithmetic, math, science, and all of that is really, really important. And but really, the fundamental things are the things that they really need to learn from us, from mom and dad. So we have to be intentional about teaching them, right and wrong, and how to respect other people, and things like that, and not just leaving it to the child to decide how they're going to act, because they can end up in a horrible place that you really don't want them to be in. Yeah. Which leads us to our final little category, which are the teen years. Yes, indeed, and I'm still in the teen years. Caleb is 16. Kelsey will be 19 in July, and those are difficult times. Again, like we talked about,
survival mode.
we go from survival mode to teaching mode to survival mode. Really, those teenage years that's the period of time where you don't stop being a parent, but you begin this transition of coming alongside of them, and instead of, telling them every single thing to do, you begin to allow them to make their own choices. Now, obviously, there's discipline that needs to happen, very, very structured. You need to give teenagers structure, very concrete things. If you do this, this is what will happen. This is my expectation. If you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. So there has to be very concrete and structured things, especially in the ways, like I said, of discipline and boundaries. What about extracurricular activities? Gosh, I'm getting I can't say it.
This was something that was really important in our family. Both of my kids were very involved in band, and we just kept them super busy, so they didn't really have time to get into any trouble. They had something called MAPS. It was an academics, so they were involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Mosley academics activity, the high school that they went to. So they were so involved in extracurricular activities that they didn't have time for boyfriends, girlfriends, all that stuff in high school. So it kept them out of trouble.
Keeps them out of trouble.
Yeah.
Now, personally, myself, I think you have to be careful not to overload them with activities. Like you wouldn't want them to be into so many different things that they can't really succeed, or that they don't have any downtime whatsoever. There definitely needs to be some downtime, but not quite as much downtime as, say, like a toddler or an elementary school age kid would want or need.
Right.
The downtime should be limited, because I agree that if you have them involved in activities, then they're less likely to get in trouble, or to, be doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Or
Yes. Or what? What were you going to say?
or not doing anything.
Or not doing anything, yes. Which is what I battle right now.
Not you.
Not me, but yeah, but my son, yes. I'm right in the middle of teenage years, and we'll get into that on another day, because our situation is different, where we're divorced, so we have to juggle around the exes, what they're doing, and what your expectations are, and that sort of thing. But the teenage years. So the teenage years, in some cases, can be the time where you begin to really. What are you doing? Oh,
just reading.
Where you begin to actually. What?
Go ahead.
What's the word I'm looking for? Rediscover, I should say. Well, hopefully, if you're connecting with each other throughout all of those years,
right.
that you won't have to have this rediscovering of your spouse.
Right.
But there is a season of things, and as the children get older in their teenage years, then you and your spouse will find that you have more time to connect with each other, because you're not having to constantly
right.
Tend to the kids' needs and that sort of thing.
Right.
And so that should be hope.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
There's a little bit of hope.
Just a little glimmer of hope. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Rufus has been really good tonight, guys, and we did not drug him, I promise. We always joke about drugging him, and then he's been so good.
What did you? Oh yeah. What? Benadryl. Yes, we absolutely gave him Benadryl. Absolutely. Just kidding. We didn't for real.
We did not drug Rufus.
All right. Well, guys, that just about does it for navigating the kid years. This is some discussion on navigating the kid years and that sort of thing. Before we get into our Q&A, I just want to...
sorry. I thought we were getting into...
Nope, that's all right. So Marie writes, once the girls were very little, Chris came home from work and I was in tears because I had not gotten any housework done or dinner. Yeah.
So Marie, are you still on? If you are, what happened? What did Chris do? Because I know you're a pretty fast typer. So
yeah.
Did he jump in and help you? Because that seems like something he would do.
Yeah, it does seem like something he would jump in and help and stuff. So while you're typing that, if you're still on, let me just share with you just a couple of scriptures here, and we'll get through this really quick because we're running out of time. But some scriptures that really kind of I think we shared this last week, Proverbs 22 and verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now that, of course, doesn't necessarily refer to the spiritual things of being in the Bible, although it certainly can. But as we talked about in the toddler years, those are the years that you want to train and really become a parent to your kids. So the next scripture is Proverbs 13:24. He that spareth the rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. I should have picked a different version to read that. So basically, spare the rod, spoil the child. You guys have kind of heard that adage. That's the scripture that comes from. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself causes shame to his mother and his father. Yeah, so again, be active parents. Don't be passive parents. Get into your kids' lives. Create boundaries. I know every teenager, preteen even, has an iPhone. Personally, I don't think they should have iPhones or that kind of technology.
They should have Samsung.
I think they should have a flip phone, and that's or something like that if you wanted to contact them.
But there are lots of apps.
That's
so
true.
You can tell your kids you're going to pay attention to what they're doing on their phone.
Yeah.
And keep an eye on what they're doing.
Keep an eye on it. Don't
tell them, they need their privacy. They don't need their privacy. You need to pay attention to what they're doing.
Yes. There's no privacy.
And
obviously, there's bathroom privileges, stuff like that.
Right.
You know,
but
it's,
make sure they know that you're going to watch what they're doing and watch what they're doing, and tell them that you are not their friend, you're their parent,
right,
and that you love them.
You have to be a parent first.
Right.
There's plenty of time once they get older to become their friend.
Right.
I mean, you've got tons of time after that, but
Right.
but those critical years, those first 18 to 21 years or whatever, those are critical years that you have to be able to parent, and then of course in the later teen years to transition.
Right.
That's those transitional years where you get to be the friend that you wanted to be.
Yeah. I mean, Madison is my best friend. She's 26 now.
Right.
But I was her parent.
Yeah. So one last little bit of scripture just to put on here, and that comes from Deuteronomy 6 through 9, in the easy to read version. Starting with verse 6, always remember these commands that I give you today. Be sure to teach them to your children. Talk about these commands when you sit in your house and when you walk on the road. Talk about them when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them on your hands, wear them on your foreheads to help you remember my teachings. Write them on the doorposts of your houses and on your gates. So that obviously they're referring to the teaching of Scripture, but it really goes far more, the far broader spectrum than just biblical teaching. It comes down to boundaries and your worldview and how you respect others, and so that stuff is very, very important. Don't wait until they're really old. This has become more of a parenting show than it is about keeping the marriage alive. But trust me, if you do those things,
right,
you will keep the marriage alive. You'll be able to.
Right.
You got some.
So this is what Marie said. She said, I really don't remember. And then she said, just saying that was enough for me. We likely got pizza.
Oh yeah.
So
just having, again, this is a time when you just start having kids where the husband, I can't say it enough, get up there, do your job, be a husband, be a father. This is your time to shine. There'll be plenty of opportunities for you to reconnect with your spouse, and if you do what you should be doing and step up to the plate, I promise you your spouse will reciprocate and connect and she'll want to connect with you. It's very difficult when you're tired, exhausted, both physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, and emotionally exhausted,
right,
to want to connect in that way. Well, it is
yes,
connect in that way.
I like the way you went. Connect
in that way. Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So
when he comes home, he's like, "Hey,
hey, babe."
No, go do the dishes.
Right.
Have you seen this house?
So is that all of our comments, questions?
Yes, they just don't trust that we didn't drug Rufus.
Yeah, we did. We didn't. We did or we didn't? No, we didn't. We didn't.
See, this is normal Rufus. This is how he is upstairs, and he's just more comfortable down here now. So he's like, cool.
Yeah, up until what, just a few weeks ago,
yeah,
he would not come down here at all. He just would not do it.
Yeah.
And finally, he got, I guess you and I were down here, and he got so beside himself that he was like, okay, I'm braving it, I'm doing it, I'm going down into the unknown.
Yeah.
And so he came down the stairs and came through the basement.
Yeah, by himself.
Yeah. So that is our show for tonight. We are so glad again that you guys tuned in and watched, and we would really appreciate it if you would like the video and share it with all your friends and help us to build this community. If you haven't already, go to our YouTube channel and click that subscribe button. the more subscribers we have, the better chances we have of getting our videos out there in the search criteria there for YouTube.
And we get $1 million.
No, we don't. Don't tell them a dinky.
I thought we got $1 million.
No,
That's
we
what
don't
you
get.
told me.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. You're telling a dinky. Yes, but do that. We sure would appreciate it. Tune in next week when I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about something having to do with parenting. We'll figure it out between now and then. Yes. Until then, may tomorrow be a perfect day. You're not going to sing?
No.
May you find love and laughter along the way. May God keep you in His tender care till He brings us together again. Good night, everybody.